so thank you all for being here. We do, as you all know, we do some consulting, and we usually see this on the back end after folks have started their business and been in business for a while, but they have not created a safety culture. They don't talk about it. So many times we see a business that starts with one truck or two trucks and they do very well. And then, so they add more trucks and they add more trucks, and the owner of the company is still driving a truck, and they haven't done anything to implement anything safety related. They have no clue what a driver qualification file is, not, much less talking about safety. So this has become really important to us. And it's not just, there's lots, a safety culture is, not just we're going to give you $25 for a clean inspection. There's so many layers to it. And so I was really grateful when Cornelius stepped up and said that he'd be willing to co-present this, because he had some great content that, and then he bowed out and threw it to Justin. So we're just really grateful that Justin was able to step in and fill his shoes. So we're gonna we'll go through and just, if you've got any questions or whatnot as we go through, please just pop those into the chat and we'll look through that. And yeah, so thanks again for being here. And oh Lordy, we're gonna stop presenting. Okay, there we go. You're on, Justin.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for having me. Just real quick, I've 17 years or so of corporate environmental health and safety leadership, and been a director and consultant for multiple companies. And some of my last charges were with were overall the contractors in EHS for NASA, and then also after that with Rose Paving, who combined with Atlantic Southern Paving here recently. So had lots of locations and lots of opportunities, as we would say in EH&S, to get better. And Cornelius and I align with our goals in Common Drive, and this is some of the information that he put together. So we'll go on there. So definition and importance of safety culture. Core definition of safety culture is safety culture encompasses shared values and behaviors shaping safety priorities beyond mere compliance. So, relating to your people and common goals is always a great way, and to pull in the same direction, right? Influencing factors: leadership, commitment, employee involvement, communication, organizational learning deeply influence safety culture. You can't expect people to know what they don't know. You have to work with them and teach them. So an educated staff will be more safe, educated team, so that you can, like I said, pull in the same direction, right? Benefits of a strong safety culture: a robust safety culture that reduces accidents, boosts morale, increases productivity, and improves compliance and reputation. One of the things that I think that you need to really look at in there, it's a big deal as far as the reduces accidents, but the boost morale. Now, a lot of people don't think of safety and environmental compliance in that way, so you have to actively make it that way. Safety culture versus safety climate. The safety culture reflects deep organizational norms, while safety climate is a snapshot of current perceptions. Sometimes you can get a snapshot of current perceptions just by talking to your frontline workers. Hey, do you feel safe in this job? Is there something there? You can send out anonymous surveys and get some great feedback, some unfiltered feedback. And safety culture is sticking to your guns and doing the right thing, no matter if it costs. So that's definitely with costing time. All right, thanks, Leslie. You go to the next slide.
Oh Lordy.
All right. So is that the next one? So DuPont Bradley curve and safety culture maturity. Right. So understandably, the Bradley curve. So the safety culture stages. It definitely comes in very distinct stages. The Bradley curve shows that for safety culture, four safety culture stages: reactive, dependent, independent, and interdependent. So a lot of people get stuck in the reactive one, and that's a hard one to kind of get out of, right? Reactive stage relies on luck. You know, hey, we've had zero reportables, zero severe incidents over the past time. I have a great group of guys, and then something goes sideways, right? Um, Dependent stage enforces safety through rules and management. So it takes more of an active participation. Independent responsibility. In the independent stage, individuals take personal responsibility and proactively identify hazards. So you think about your good catches, near misses, and I'm not afraid to come and tell management or somebody in charge, hey, this happened, and we want to fix it before it turns severe or gets somebody hurt or causes a life-changing or life-ending injury. Interdependent teamwork. This is, you know, all your stage features of team collaboration, shared accountability, and near zero incident rates. This is coming together after you've learned a near miss and had these situations happen at different locations. You can come back and you share that knowledge so that we're not siloed and keeping it separate, like it's going to help us in the future, right? All right, next slide, please.
Sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
So characteristics of each maturity level. So reactive stage, safety stage. Safety efforts are minimal and only respond after accidents with low employee compliance. And also with that is low employee involvement. So the more that you share with them, the better off it is. Dependent safety stage. Safety is rule-based and enforced by supervisors. Employees comply of obligation, not ownership. Independent safety stage. Individuals take responsibility for their safety by proactively engaging and reporting hazards. Interdependent safety stage. Teams collaborate and share accountability, embedding safety in organizational values with near zero injuries. If you're a leader in your company and you even, you know, finish your emails with your signature line and you have a safety message in there, or you ask for one at the beginning of a meeting, you're going to get involvement, and it's going to show that you care and that you're involved and engaged and that you're trying to make things safer. So keep that in mind. Just these little nuances like that can mean a huge difference. All right, next slide, please.
Okay, so there is a you know, safety is not just, it's not going to work if it's just top down. You've got to have a leadership commitment to what you're doing. You've got to have, you know, the owner of the company or the leader of the company at the very top levels have to be committed to what we're doing, and they have to be willing to, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk, and quite honestly, oftentimes put the cash behind it as well. But once the leader's committed, then you've got to gin up support from bottom up. So the driver council or some sort of driver committee is often a great place to start, because you do, as Justin said, you do get the drivers that, you know, they're out there. They want to go home with all 10 fingers and toes to their families as well. They see what's going on, and they, you know, they're on the front line. They're the ones that you can get the best information from. So not being afraid to get that driver input is huge. So we like to see companies that will commit to having a driver council. I think in our, you know, in our association, having the professional concrete driver, whatever the committee is called, and I'm sorry if I'm not articulating that correctly. I think that is huge because you've got drivers from all companies that are coming together to share that information. But definitely having a driver council or a driver committee in your company will be huge to get the information that you need to make progress toward a super safe environment. You obviously want to do, you're going to start this by having a driver meeting. This is a driver meeting for everybody. You're going to get all your drivers involved. And you may, have a couple folks that are going to be really interested in this, and maybe give them a heads up and see if they're willing to participate. But you want the drivers as a whole, your driver group as a whole, to nominate folks for to be on that driver council. And this is having that initial driver meeting is a great way to do that. You're going to introduce the safety plan. You may want to even show them, these are the accidents we've had. These are the roadside inspections with violations we've had. This is why it's important. We want you all to be safe. We want you to go home to your families every night. We also don't want to pay $16 million in insurance premiums every year, which is what is happening when companies have lots of accidents, lots of roadside inspection with violations. And then the management has to set the clear expectations, because you do want to make sure that that all drivers know what we're trying to accomplish. This actually builds great trust. Justin talked about the morale, how morale is huge. And if you have, if you're not working in a safe environment, your drivers know that, they reflect that, they don't want to come to work. And it also is a great thing for retention. Finding great concrete drivers is super hard to do. And so if we can provide a safe work environment and they feel really invested, feel like they're cared about, then you're going to build that trust between your drivers individually and as a group. And it's just beyond mere compliance. So you've got your driver council meetings. They're meeting regularly to discuss their safety, their goals, and what we need to do, problems that they've seen that we need to fix. We also want to continue the messaging. So as Justin said, a tagline on your email signature would be great. You don't want to obviously send texts out in the middle of the day while all your drivers are driving, but maybe at the beginning of the day, hope you have a great, safe day. Just simple things where they know that management is still committed and we're keeping safety at the top of the top of their thought process. Creating emails talking about, maybe a monthly update you can do that talks about safety initiatives and the progress that we've made. Newsletters are huge. And also sending those newsletters home, not just giving them out to your drivers while they're at work, or sending them out electronically. Nobody answers their emails anymore. But send those newsletters home so that if they have a spouse, if they have a family, they see those. We have one of our communications consultant that we work with even creates coloring books for the kids. Wow. About safety topics so that the whole family's involved. So that is super huge as far as, just continuing that messaging through, the text, through emails and newsletters. So positive behavior reinforcement, obviously, this is probably where you're going to have to, put some cash into it. Again, rewarding clean inspections, rewarding, if you go a month with no accidents, no violations, things like that, you want to make sure you're giving your drivers, they see it in their pocketbook is very helpful as well. I was at the Georgia Trucking Association meeting this past November, and they had a couple of safety directors from, long haul trucking companies, or at least regional trucking companies. And they were saying, we give a $400 bonus every month to every driver if we have a safe month. He said we would pay that in insurance premiums. We'd rather pay that to our drivers. So that's just the positive behavior reinforcement from a financial standpoint. But you also want to make sure that you're doing it in those driver meetings. Everybody loves to feel good and feel like they're respected and appreciated. And calling out that during your safety meetings goes a long way to do that. You want to also offer continuous safety learning opportunities. So these are your toolbox talks. Maybe you have a monthly meeting where you're just focused on a safety topic, or it could be, you're bringing in your environmental things as well there. So you want to make sure that folks they're always learning. They know they have an opportunity. And this is where your driver council is going to come in to kind of create that full circle, because they're going to inform you about what topics would be great for those monthly safety meetings or for those learning meetings. A holistic wellness program, that's, probably not, you're in the concrete industry, especially with our producers, they're kind of in and out of the plants pretty much. They've got, most of them, bring their lunch and they at some point in time stop and eat. At least that's been my experience, what I've seen. But you also want to talk about nutrition, how they can bring nutritious meals. Your guys, the concrete drivers, as we were talking a little bit in the beginning, just kind of in our chit chat, I was saying how I was exhausted and sore and whatnot when I got out of my 5 minutes in the Walker Concrete simulator. Your guys are doing that every day. I go on site and I do drug tests for a lot of the concrete companies that we use. I see a lot of guys that have health issues. The trucking industry historically, the longevity is not great. We have folks that retire early, they're injured, or they're just not healthy and they have to take early disability. So this is something that I think you can really promote and really be a benefit to your drivers. We've talked about the safety bonus program. Obviously, you want to collaborate with your driver council to make sure that you've got good metrics, to make sure that they are objective, that someone can see it. Whether you're using if you all are using ELDs, if you're using your ELD dashboard or whatever GPS that you've got, you're going to take into consideration crashes and roadside inspections, and you may even take into consideration customer attaboys or customer complaints. There's lots of things you can put into your formula as far as your safety bonus, and you want to make sure that's relevant. There's nothing worse. I was at a safety meeting for a company we work with, not a concrete company, but they announced no one's getting a bonus this week because Jim Bob had a violation and Sammy had a crash, and that was horribly not motivating to the rest of everybody else. And you don't want to make it, you don't want to pit your drivers against each other. So we've got to have some sort of metric so that you can reward drivers individually and then also as a group. So super important, the recognition, the accountability, but communicating that clearly is where you're really going to get bang for your buck. Okay, Justin, we'll turn it back to you.
Absolutely. So visual tools for engagement. So dashboards and KPIs. They display key safety metrics like TRIR, DART, near miss reports, training completion to track performance. You know what? Unless you're in this as a safety professional in this, most of the time those words don't mean much to you, right? Get the definition out there, train your people on it, and share that information to them in a way that they understand it, all right? So they know what's at stake and they know where it's at. That's always worked really well with me. And to be able to go and share that, like I said, to frontline. So talking to your drivers about it. Hey, this is where we were last month. This is where we were this month last year, and showing them that. Because those numbers are real people. Don't share the people's names. Share the information and we had a driver that had this happen. Try to keep the identifying metrics out of it, right? Flow charts for processes. Flow charts visually represent procedures such as driver council formation, bonus program, criteria for clarity. When you get those, you develop those, post them. Post them in areas that are easily accessible, like break rooms. If you have screens up that display information, have a screensaver on something that goes through and shows like company info, put your attaboys on there, your flow charts on there. The posters and newsletters, they provide constant visual reminders to reinforce safety culture and priorities. Human nature is we will read anything that's on the back of a bathroom stall or on a wall. And I hate to be like that, but if you don't have the electronic means to do it, print it out and put it up. Dehydration charts, things like that. Put them in there. Men will read anything over a urinal. And I mean, that's just honest, and that's reality. I do it. Everybody does it. So if you want to get some information out there, you got something you want everybody to read, put it there. Absolutely. Visual cues and graphics. Use vibrant graphics, icons, real-world images, simplifies complex information, engages employees. Ask permission or get written permission from your employees if you're going to use their picture in something. And don't press them if they don't want to use it and put it in the newsletter. But the attaboys are great. If you can take a picture with a guy and you're giving out a safety bonus, or you have something where you're doing a banquet and they choose to show up and they have a certificate for them, that goes a long way. Recognition is amazing, especially for people or maybe some work that feels marginalized, or maybe they do. Maybe they don't feel appreciated. They've got long days where they're by themselves, and most of their communication is cut off. They're not supposed to be texting and driving. They're not supposed to be on the phone all the time and things of that nature, right? So they have a lot of demand on them to get their product there safely, right? All right, next. So communication channels and cadence. We've talked a little bit about this, and we're continuing to reinforce this as we go through here. Diverse communication methods. We just talked about that. Utilizing text, emails, posters, newsletters, maintain frequent communication with all stakeholders. The last thing that I want to do is spam people or get spammed. I love seeing stuff that comes to me as an individual, right? From someone. I think that interpersonal communication is key to foundational growth of safety culture. The fact that you care and you know somebody's name that goes a long way. When you can give them kudos on something they've done well, please do so. If you have to reprimand, do it behind closed doors, but praise publicly anytime that you can. Interactive discussions, quarterly town halls and toolbox talks provide forums for open dialogue and engagement. Being there, stopping by and seeing deliveries, that kind of thing. Having a quick discussion before somebody gets out and starts doing something, show up on site. Clear and consistent messaging. I used to work for a guy that was a big Ford guy. He worked in Ford factories in Detroit and was over production. He used to say consistent and persistent. That's the best thing that you can do, is be consistent and persistent with your messaging and your intentional actions. So ensure messages align with council priorities are communicated clearly to build trust. Make sure also to build that trust that you give them some skin in the game. If you're developing something, hear from them. Be open to criticism with some of it and learn what they actually need. Recognition and transparency. Like I said, publicly recognize achievements and share lessons learned to reinforce transparency and trust. That goes a long way, especially when it comes to the rewards of near misses, good catches. There was several instances in Rose Paving where I had some good catches near misses that not only saved $1 million worth of equipment, but the $3 million worth of work that we had scheduled for the next week that we would not be able to do because we wouldn't have had the equipment available. Trailer caught on fire. So, all right, measurement and continuous improvement. So Assessing safety cultures and performance. Safety measurement tools, safety climate surveys, and quarterly pulse checks provide baselines of ongoing assessments and safety culture. You can do this through your committees and making, if you have several locations, having just, direct a safety point of contact at each location. It may not be management. It shouldn't be most of the time. People that are engaged and want to make things better, you can get that good feedback from them. Track your good catches, near misses, your first aids, all your safety metrics, and then share them. And that helps to make sure that you're developing that safety culture. KPI dashboards and tracking. Dashboards monitor key performance indicators like TRR and DART, training completion, and audit closure times. So what I would suggest is that if you're starting out, start with a spreadsheet. That's okay. Just show some tracking, learn some tracking. If you need some help with them, I'm a member here. Reach out. I'll be happy to share a basic template or something with you. But there's, mild to wild, an Excel spreadsheet to like KPA, something that's $100,000+ a year, right? But they all have their advantages, and the data is only as good as what's being captured and put in it, right? So you got to make sure that your data is correct and it's clear and concise, and that you know how it's calculated. That way that if there is an issue later, you can say, you know what, that just doesn't seem right, right? If you need a gut check, reach out. Learning and feedback. Incident learning reviews and feedback loops foster organizational learning and continuous safety improvements. Like I said, level setting the expectations, making sure you have a base knowledge, and that way you can all pull in the same direction. There was a company I used to work for called Momar, and it had like a donkey pulling against everybody else, right? And it said team culture, and you got to be pulling in the same direction. Don't be the donkey. All right. So some references for you. Authoritative guidance sources, HSE and NIOSH provide critical guidance on safety culture and climate to inform professional practices. Cultural maturity frameworks. DuPont Bradley Curve often offers resources to assist and improve organizational safety culture and maturity. Compliance standards. OSHA standards established by regulatory requirements for workplace safety and compliance management. Practical applications. Safety professionals use these resources to design training, conduct audits, and lead safety transformations. And just, a couple of things for me to add a few things in there. If you're not on the right side of technology with what's current, sometimes you'll find yourself really, really far behind. So download it. Don't be afraid to. Download a ChatGPT on your phone or on a computer or something. And if you have a general question or something about safety or how something's calculated, things of that nature, ask it. Ask it what it is. Don't be afraid to ask something like that has all the computing capabilities in the world, right? Ask it, but then ask it for a reference. That way that you can go and point to the reference and where it got the information. So if you don't know how a DART is calculated or a TRR is calculated, ask it. And then that way you can be better informed. And then if you have a gut check or you need a gut check, message, give a call, send an email. Like I said, use each other as a resource in here as well. I'm offering that. But yeah, I don't think help should have to be hard. So if you need some help, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk with you. All right.
All right. I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, guys.